Hey guys, before I start the Beartooth review, I just wanted to let you know real quick, my dude Greg from the project Dead Roses has a new cover of a cover out where he got a female session vocalist to come in and do a cover of Marilyn Manson's cover of Cry Little Sister. You might know the original song from the film The Lost Boys, which is a great movie if you haven't seen it. And this song, Manson's cover, was great, but I love hearing a female vocalist take this on. Check it out. It is linked in the description down below, or else there'll be a card at the end of the video. What's up everyone, John from ARTV. It's time to talk about that new Beartooth record that you guys have already been begging me to talk about. The new one is titled Disease. Oh, Caleb Shomo, you've been doing the same thing for a while now. Caleb Shomo got his start with Attack Attack, a band that you might remember from the MySpace era, featuring hit songs such as Stick Stickly, so you know they've aged super gracefully. Think back to 2014 and you might remember yours truly giving Disgusting by Beartooth, the debut album, a perfect score. Something that I don't stand by, even though I still like the project overall. It just kind of fell out of favor with me once I started realizing the pattern that was circulating. I think I relate to a lot of the songs, at least I did at that time in my life, and that's why I held it in such high regard. It's still a very good album, and I'm not downplaying it whatsoever. Now, the follow-up record, that was a different story. Aggressive was a huge letdown in 2016. It's an album that I just found so boring, so lacking of really most things that are needed to keep an album moving forward, to keep the listener engaged, and I feel like on this third album, I'd be left wanting something more, and does Disease deliver that? Well, I'd have to say it's a little bit more of the same. That's so disappointing to say because I really do like the Beartooth project. If you're into hardcore punk, if you're into hardcore music, a little bit of punk, a little bit of thrashy punk, then you'd be super into this. And I think the songs sound great live. I've seen Beartooth twice, and it's definitely fun from that perspective. But in a studio setting, just listening to the songs one-on-one, once again on Disease, I just feel like maybe they're not holding up quite as well. On this record, Disease, I feel like it's just kind of a continuation, like the last album ended on a semicolon, and he's just picking it up again with another run-on sentence here. It's so tough because I feel like everyone's gonna think I'm crucifying this album, like I'm just driving in the nails and I hate it, and that's just not the case. I'm able to turn off my mind because I understand, at least in places, what these songs are meant to be. But other times, I just can't be so forgiving because the sound is so fitting into a mold. It's following the same formula. Every song on this LP is between 3 to 4 minutes, and pretty much every song features the same exact formula. You start off your verse, your chorus, verse, chorus, breakdown, wow. And even though some of the breakdowns do sound kind of cool, they have an almost Metallica metal edge to them, and I do love that on tracks like Enemy and Used and Abused. Overall, it by no means does that enough to merit repeated listens to this album, Disease. What's the biggest downfall of the new Beartooth? What makes it a ticking time bomb in some sense? What's its biggest enemy, I suppose, for lack of a better term? Well, I feel like the lyrical content really works against it and is so generic, so safe on some of these tracks, like Bad Listener, Afterall, with such statements as, I guess we're just human after all. It's just so asinine. It's just so there, so plain, so I've heard that a million times. Why are you saying this again? That I don't want to come back to the songs. Looking at this album as a steak, I suppose there is flavor in some corners. I guess it just depends what part you cut off and chew. And I will most definitely be cutting off pieces here because as a whole, it's too much. It's way too fatty. And that's kind of bad for an album that's only 42 minutes, 12 songs, all of them follow the exact 3 to 4 minute pattern. To start off positive, I really do like Used and Abused. It's a track that makes good use of a guitar tone and actually pushes things forward. Shomo sounds genuinely passionate about what he's talking about here, and I can always respect and appreciate that. I really love the song Enemy because of the breakdown on it. It was a little bit unexpected and it changes things up, which this album needed so desperately. Overall, a very engaging tune. I like when they change pace overall on this album because it's always a breath of fresh air. The title track, Disease, has stuck with me. It was actually the only single that I heard preceding this album, and it goes down smooth. It has a very sticky and catchy, engaging chorus on it, and it's gonna make you want to come back to it again and again. I can say similar things for the closing track Clever, where he talks about, if I'm clever, then you're gonna think that I'm okay, like in real life if you meet me at a show or something like that. If I'm doing my job right, then you're gonna think that this is just music, and I'm actually not like super bummed out and sad and depressed all the time. But he probably actually is, and it seems like it's a pretty open and earnest tune that I like because he is a little bit more slow. It puts the spotlight on Shomo, and it makes him show off his actual vocal range instead of just being a little bit pushy and aggressive with his voice. Not that I don't like that in some places, it's just that I think that he kills it when he does it on tracks like Disease and Clever. Sadly though, starting with track number 3, I just kinda have to facepalm and say, oh boy, look at this, Fire, and we get such a generic song, and then we go into You Never Know, and it's You Never Know Until You Know, wow, and then I'm a Bad Listener on track number 5, which seems like the musical equivalent of sticking your hands in your ears and being like, I can't hear you, oh what's that? You said something to me? You gave me a thinly veiled criticism? Oh, well, I can't hear you because I'm a bad listener. It's just childish in a way, and the writing is piss poor. Afterall and Manipulation follow suit, making this a very mixed bag, one that is hard to call because I like the opening track, for example. I think the first 2 songs are pretty damn good. Greatness or Death, RIP headphone users, after that acoustic opening before it smashes into it. It's fun, you just want to break shit and move around. I understand that this could be a great pit song. And then after that, Disease, very catchy like I said. But tracks 3 through 7 drag before we finally get to Enemy, and it's kind of hit or miss at the end of the record too. There's good songs there, but there's also forgettable ones, and it kind of makes this a very hard to decide on album. Was Disease worth it overall? It sounds like I'm reading for a bad law commercial, like, were you or a loved one affected by disease? Well then get a lawyer that's very aggressive and will fight against these disgusting pharmaceutical companies. See what I did there? Yeah, you did. You liked it. I'm torn on this one, guys. I think musically it's a step up. There's some good guitar and drum work here. The bass is definitely still, I think, a weak counterpoint, an element that I feel goes underutilized, and that's a shame. I think that Shomo puts too much emphasis on aggression and just writing songs that are very general and very by the numbers, but at the same time, I'd be lying if I said I didn't have any fun while I was listening to it. I want to know what you guys think. Start typing in the comments right now. Let me know what you think, and don't forget to drop a like on the review while you're here. Me personally, I'm going to rate this a 3 out of 5. I rated Aggressive a 2.5, and I do feel it is a slight step up. Keep in mind, it's all just my opinion, so I hope you enjoyed the review today. If you would like to support the channel on Patreon, then click the top link in the description down below, or else the annotation in the corner to do so. If you want to see my last Beartooth review, then tap this card right here, or tap here for another recent review I did on the channel. Other than that, connect with me on social media, and I'll see you soon for more on ARTV.